Every time I think it's going to be the shortest.
It's good. Tonight's going to be the longest meeting of the year.
Yeah.
Told my
never
wife
seen
not to
anything like
expect
it.
me until midnight.
Yeah.
As clean shaven as ever see it.
We're ready when you are, Mayor. You look Clark is out.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. We're going to start our meeting now. Mary, roll call.
Mayor Brunner,
Here.
Vice Mayor Rich.
Here.
Commissioner Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Collins.
Here.
Commissioner McDonald.
Here.
And our chaplain, Skiba, he's going to give the invocation, and then we're going to go right into the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, sir.
You know, we don't realize how blessed we are to be in a nation where we as the citizens can sit here and hear what's going on and have our voices heard. There's so many countries that can't do that. This is really a blessing. Madam Mayor, City Council, and especially citizens, thank you for having us here and for allowing us to invite the presence of the Almighty. Let's go before the Lord. Our God and our Father, great creator of the universe, we thank you for the freedoms that we enjoy in this great nation. We thank you for the blessings, the prosperity that you've rained down on the city of Stuart. Lord, as my brothers and sisters debate on issues that are important to the citizens of this city, we ask for your presence, your guidance, and your direction. Send your Holy Spirit to be with us and show us exactly what your will is for this wonderful community that we live in. Bless us in all that we do. In your precious name and for your glory do we pray. Amen. Please join me now in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right. We have Arts Moment.
Mayor, I'd like to introduce Jeffrey Smith. I'm sure everyone is probably aware of Mr. Smith. However, in case you aren't, he's an internationally known sculptor that lives here in Martin County.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith, feel free to take the stage.
Welcome. On December 31st, 2002, at 9 a.m., history was made in Stuart, Florida. That's when we installed the Stuart Sailfish at Joan Jefferson Roundabout. Stuart Main Street had contacted me prior to that, and they said they had this great commission for me. The only problem was they had no funding. So I was all excited, a young artist, you know, I've been in town 5-6 years, and I got to work. I made a maquette. I went around everybody I knew begging for money. And the late Ed Sellian, he came to our rescue and funded the project, and the rest is history. In 2014, Stuart's own Jim Karolski came to me with an idea to put art in Stuart. And his idea was the Birds on Colorado project. And again, same thing. We were going to put sculptures of waterfowl birds, water birds up and down Colorado Avenue, but again, there was no funding. So we just had to find people to donate, and that all worked out well. That project took about 2 years. On February 25th in 2015, we created a little traffic jam in downtown Stuart when Philip Bush of Eagle Distributing arranged to have the Clydesdale horses here to help us unveil the big bald eagle sculpture. That was quite a day in downtown Stuart, except for that. You recognize a few of the faces there? So over the next few months, we installed a flying pelican, a roseate spoonbill, a dancing sandhill crane, a pair of ospreys, and the 3 great blue herons in the fountain. My art has always been about beauty and the natural world. The first step as an artist is to slow down and observe your subject. Though through enough observation, you know, the truth will emerge. Last weekend, we were down at the Friends of the Everglades event, and Betty Osceola, one of the Miccosukee tribal elders, put it another way. she said, "We must listen to the water." So when you view my art, think about the river, think about the ocean. What is it telling us? Are the fish and the birds saying? In preparation for this talk, I looked at some old newspaper clippings of the installation of the Stuart sailfish. I was actually looking for the exact date because I wasn't on the top of my head. And I saw on these front pages of the newspaper various articles on the Lake Okeechobee discharges. And I thought that was kind of disturbing. And then I thought about it, and the problem of our water quality has been around before I was born. In fact, 90 years ago, we were concerned about the water. So I know art's not the solution to fixing our problems, but the art can motivate us to look for solutions. In 2017, the President of the United States presented one of my sculptures to the Pope. That was a big deal. Let's do it. So, Eve Samples wrote a beautiful article in the Treasure Coast Palm about the unifying power of art. As everybody celebrated my sculpture in the Vatican, she wrote in this article that art had transcended politics, and there was no bashing going on, no bad things happening, and that was very profound. And I think with art can transcend our environment. We have to, think of, Stewart's a beautiful town. I love it here. I've raised my family here, and it's a beautiful community full of wonderful people. And I'm grateful to have my sculptures around town. So thank you for your time, and I ask that we all listen to the water.
Mr. Smith?
I just wanted to say, I've known Jeffrey for going on 25 years, 26 years now, and I'm fortunate enough to own a couple small pieces of art that he has. He used to give me payment plans on them. Jeffrey, if you look around, not only has Jeffrey created many of the sculptures that we found private donors, but Jeffrey has donated his own art himself without a donor. The three herrings in the circle, Jeffrey donated those. But also one of the ones sculptures that wasn't on the list, it was kind of going a different direction, but we have a 9/11 memorial. It's a sculpture in the public safety building of the firefighters raising the flag after 9/11, and Jeffrey did that, and he donated that to the city. And it's an incredibly powerful sculpture. I think it's probably out of your normal comfort zone of wildlife art, but because I've had so much time and pleasure spending time speaking with Jeffrey, when you go and you look, especially when you look at the clay sculptures, when he's doing them in clay, and it's the feathers on the birds, it's hard to believe that they're either clay or bronze or some case stainless steel. I think he's done some stainless steel now. I mean, it's unbelievable. We've nominated Jeffrey for the Florida Artist Hall of Fame a few times. I've traveled around the state working on that, and eventually we're going to get him inside the Florida Artist Hall of Fame because he absolutely deserves to be there. So thank you, Jeffrey, and thank you for the art that you brought to Stewart.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, can I say a few words? Madam Mayor, thank you. So, thank you so much, everything. Do you have a way where young people can come in and tour or give workshops so they can pass on those ideas that maybe people want to develop those skills and get into that type of a work in the future?
We do, and we've had all the teachers in the Martin County school system come through the studio, but anybody that's ever asked to bring a class in, I usually run over to Stewart Art Supply, and we load up with acrylic paints and paper plates and all kinds of fun things, and I give them a little training on something, and yes, we're always encouraging people to get into the arts.
Thank you.
We'd like to give you this appreciation certificate.
Jeffrey, we typically have performing arts as opposed to visual arts, so if you'd like to tap dance or sing a song, right.
We'll clear the room.
Thank you.
We don't have enough security. If I start dancing. Thank you all.
You're welcome.
Now we have the proclamations. Irish American Heritage Month, March 2024. You do. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas by 1776, nearly 300,000 Irish nationals had immigrated to the American colonies and played a crucial role in America's war for independence. 5 signers of the Declaration of Independence were of Irish descent, and 3 signers were Irish-born. Irish Americans helped to fashion a system of government for our young nation. 22 presidents have proudly proclaimed their Irish American heritage, and whereas the Irish first came to Spanish La Florida in the 1500s, first as missionaries and mercenary soldiers, and then as planters, traders, businessmen, doctors, and administrators. 3 of the Spanish governors of La Florida were actually Irish military officers. Additionally, Friar Richard Arthur, an Irish-born priest from Limerick, who was appointed parish priest for St. Augustine in 1597 and ecclesiastical judge of La Florida, established the first public school in America and opened it to both boys and girls of all races. And whereas Irish Americans, since America's inception, have provided and continue to provide leadership and service to this nation's political, business, and religious establishments, so it is fitting and proper to celebrate the rich cultural heritage and the many valuable contributions of Irish Americans. Now, therefore, I, Rebecca S. Bruner, Mayor of the City of Stuart, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2024 in the City of Stuart, Florida, as Irish American Heritage Month.
Thank you. Our recipient is Ray Lynch, National Security Secretary and past Florida State President of the Ancient Order of Hibernians.
I don't believe he's here, Mayor. I'm sorry.
I'll save it for him.
I'm Irish. Me too.
Okay, Lee, we have another one. Recipient,
Procurement.
which one is this one?
Procurement.
Oh, the procurement month. Sorry about that.
Whereas March is Procurement Month, celebrated by the Institute for Public Procurement and public purchasing departments across the country, it is commendable that the Procurement Division of the Finance Department values accountability, ethics, impartiality, professionalism, service, and transparency. These values are essential for creating a strong foundation for effective and ethical procurement practices. And whereas procurement is responsible for sourcing, negotiating, and purchasing goods and services for the City of Stuart, procurement plays a vital role in ensuring that the city receives the best value, products, and services needed in a timely manner. Procurement provides additional value by carrying out tasks such as contract administration and implementation, strategic procurement strategy development, and building relationships with suppliers and fellow city departments. And whereas in the government sector, procurement professionals are responsible for ensuring that public funds are spent responsibly and effectively. Strict regulations and guidelines are followed to ensure transparency and fairness. By leveraging their procurement and negotiation expertise, procurement professionals can help governments save money and provide better services to their citizens. And whereas procurement plays a crucial role in risk management within the city by integrating risk management practices into the procurement processes and collaborating with departments. These practices enhance the city's resilience, optimizes decision-making, and safeguards against potential threats to the supply chain and business operations. Now, therefore, I, Rebecca S. Bruner, Mayor of the City of Stuart, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2024 in the city of Stuart, Florida as Procurement Month.
Our recipient is Elena Knopfler.
Okay, and I'll move you over this way.
Speech. Speech. Oh, she does.
Good afternoon. I am deeply honored and grateful to accept this procurement proclamation today. It is with great pride that I stand before you and express my heartfelt gratitude for this recognition. Procurement plays a vital role in the success and efficiency of any organization. It enables us to acquire the necessary resources, goods, and services to fulfill our mission and serve our citizens. I am truly grateful for the opportunity to lead and contribute to our procurement efforts. I want to express my appreciation to all the individuals and departments who have worked tirelessly to ensure the success of our procurement processes. I am also grateful for our suppliers and vendors who have supported us throughout our procurement activities. I accept this procurement proclamation with deep gratitude and a renewed commitment to uphold the standards and excellence in our procurement practices. Together, we will continue to drive innovation, efficiency, and success in our procurement department. Thank you once again. I am truly grateful and humbled by this recognition.
Thank you. Now we're going to go into our service awards. Our recipient is David Duran, 20 years of service. Police Lieutenant.
He was here. His little boys are out there. There they are. There he is.
Are we supposed to come down for 20 years?
No, 25.
25, okay. It's been so long, we've had it 25, I've forgotten. Oh, come on, David, speech. 20 years speed for itself.
Another service award recipient, Rachel Miner, 10 years of service with the police department.
Not even about the dogs?
Thank you. And we have two more. They're not attending. This is Adam Baker, 5 years of service with the fire medic, and Scott Stewart, 5 years of service with the police office. Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that. Now we're going to go into comments from our city commissioners. Anyone want to speak first?
No comment from me today.
Since I'm at the end, I'll speak since it's supposed to be a short meeting. I'll take a long time. No, I don't
Commissioner
really-
Clark?
I don't really have anything. One thing I had, but I'm gonna bring it at the next meeting when I can get the video working. I hear that the system is not working to transmit the video, so that's of concern, but I hope that we'll get it work. I just wanted to say that I've had people calling me, and especially one person who called that they had a near miss with a train arm, and I did talk to Milton. I don't think there's anything that we can do, but apparently a car may go through and then the arm comes right down again in certain locations. So we just have to, people have to be very careful when they're driving. The other thing is that Sheriff Snyder is not going to be running for office anymore. And I'm not sure if there's going to be any time when the county or anybody's going to have anything. But I think that we do need to recognize Sheriff Snyder and all the joint things that we've done together. And so I don't know if that's a proclamation or something, but I'm sure that Mr. Mortel can find out and we can figure out what we need to do to make sure the city appreciates Sheriff Snyder.
Commissioner Collins?
Just one comment. I was happy to see number 7 on the consent calendar. I'm not going to pull it, but I just wanted to say, in light of the previous meeting and the discussions around affordable housing, one of the points that came up was that when people find out the settlement that the city got with regard to the PFAS, there's going to be potentially an uproar, and that we should be doing everything we can in terms of potentially using that settlement money towards one of these kinds of projects. And having this on our consent, again, I won't pull it, but when you look into the details, that settlement revolved around being able to afford to replace these resin, these filters for the PFAS for a 40-year period. And when we're talking about the settlement, it will look like a big number, but again, if we dig into this agenda a little bit, you're looking at about $1.6 million. These are about $800,000 apiece for the two, between replacing and disposing. So I hope that all of us are on the same page. Maybe these were just talking points and it was a charged up meeting, but that none of us have any intention on trying to get into that money for anything other than making sure that our public, our residents are able to have these filters that may over time become more and more expensive. Ideally that settlement with 3M would have included filters over a 40-year period, but you can't get a third of that. I'm sure Bob would know, right? But you wouldn't know a third, no. But that long-term, we're thinking about the health of the people that live here and what that money is intended to be used for, not any pet projects that any of us might get invested in. So that was all.
Thank you. Commissioner Rich?
I'll start with the good news, which was we finally got the legislature to ratify the new stormwater bill. This is something that we had fought for and requested. And Treasure Coast Region Florida League of Cities, I know Gil Smart and Eve Samples, this was just an essential step we needed to take. As I explained to the legislators when I spoke with them, who uses the latest data and the latest modeling is the insurance companies. And if they don't see the state as a partner in trying to remediate some of the damage that we're suffering from these precipitation events, it's just going to make it more difficult to get our insurance under control. And I'm happy to give credit where credit is due. One of the introducers was our own Senator Gail Harrell, so good for her, and thank Senator Harrell for doing that. I don't like to say this, but I tuned into the CRB meeting last Tuesday. This is really more to my fellow commissioners than anyone. And there were only 3 people in attendance. And I will not embarrass those who did not, but I will just name who was there, and that was board member Bonnie Moser was there, board member Mark Breckbell was there, and Chair Tom Campenny was there. They failed to have a quorum, and so they could not conduct their business. So, our appointees who failed to attend, it's certainly rude to their fellow members, and it's a waste of their time. I spoke to the city manager about this, and he reminded me that last year, half of their meetings were canceled. And so, are we just doing the same thing and hoping for a different result? I personally think there's a huge opportunity here with these people. I know my appointee is very qualified, very interested in what can be done. I certainly would value their input and their considerations on the matter. We need to do something to try to get better participation. Obviously, the commissioners need to talk to their appointees. And I'm not saying this should be the case, but now the rule is if you miss, you're only off if you miss 3 meetings, correct?
3 in a row.
3 in a row? Okay. Maybe should we make it 2? They started 4. I know 4 is difficult for some people. Should we change that to 5? I just think we should try to solve the problem, just blithely endure, the difficulty we're having this board be effective. There's so much is going to be happening in the city. We've got the train station, obviously, Brightline, and there's so many opportunities we have. I hate to see us wasted and waste those people's efforts. So I'm really asking for input. I don't have a solution.
I feel the same way. Maybe it should be after 3, doesn't matter how you get it, just 3 and you're out. So Commissioner Collins?
All I wanted to say is with regard to tonight, with what we're approving at the end with the wording that Lee has been working on, is instead of us having to, as a board, decide, on taking somebody off the board or appointing somebody new, you, as a commissioner, will have the ability to remove or add somebody at will. So more than trying to maybe change a number 3 in a row or 3 at law, if you feel like that your person is not, if any of us feel like their person's not cutting the mustard, we can remove them with what we're approving tonight.
Madam Mayor?
Yes,
As
Commissioner.
I say, actually, I worked very hard to make sure I had a appointee for the CRB who would show up, and unfortunately, he did miss the meeting, but he called me that evening because he had an emergency. One of his employees down south was assaulted and had to have police come and some other things, so anyway, so needless to say, but yeah, it is a real issue, and that's why, and I made my appointee promise that he would not miss any meetings. So when an emergency came up, he called me that evening to let me know what had happened. So sometimes things can't be avoided, but when you run into the chronic people that just over and over and over, hence why my last year's appointee didn't get reappointed. So.
Madam Mayor, I'm aware of the issue, and I've been trying since December, even though my current person's name went in to get a new person, and I'm getting a new person. I think that we should be ready to get their thing sent in. I've been working with the clerk, but I'm hoping my person will send the information the clerk is requesting from them.
May I just?
Yes, Commissioner.
Yeah, I think Commissioner McDonald makes a good point. At least if we hold our appointees accountable and say, I noticed you weren't there, is there a problem? That inquiry reveals that we see that board as important and we value their participation. So, at the very least, let's not be indifferent to the failure of that board to be able to vote on the matter that was before them. So I think if we all make an effort here, that board can be more
Yes.
effective, and that'll be a great contribution. Thank you, Madam
No
Mayor.
comments.
Okay. Comments from our manager, our city manager?
First, let me just comment briefly about the board membership. I think that your all consensus is correct, and Commissioner Collins made a good point that the clerk and the city attorney have been working on updating our bylaws, and part of it is because the bylaws were in both Chapter 8 and Chapter 2. And secondly, the bylaws paragraphs weren't all aligned, so the way that the intention was to make it that if paragraph 3 in the bylaws was the paragraph about attendance, then whatever board's bylaws kind of line them up so they can be read more easily. And one of the things that was discovered while going through it was that when the charter board had made its recommendations, and the primary recommendation being that the commissioners appoint their direct respondents or representatives, they each got appointed for 1-year term, and there was really nothing in between the term other than if you missed 3 meetings in a row for the basis to remove a board member. So as it's being revised, it's going to include that language that the board appointee is serving at the will of the commissioner that appoints that appointee, just like in the county. And as a result, as Commissioner Collins points out, if your board member is not doing whatever it is you understand them to be, commitments they made and, what they've agreed on with you, then you have the right to put somebody else on the board and address it. So you'll be able to address that tonight, and I think that going hand in hand with Commissioner Campbell-Rich's comments about the idea that each commissioner needs to communicate with their board member to make all the boards feel that they're important. And I know that all the commissioners greatly appreciate the board members and their advice and whatever feedback we get from each board, because it makes it easier to understand how the public feels if there's more people communicating. So hopefully that will take place. I also wanted to mention, speaking of board members and board meetings, next week, or this week's, it was last week when I made this comment, but this week's LPA meeting had a project called Edenmar that was the property between Lowe's and the Audi dealership, kind of adjacent to Willoughby. We received a letter last week from them asking if they could be continued from this LPA meeting until the April LPA meeting, and as a result, it will not be heard at the March LPA meeting. Since our last meeting, Brightline announced that the Stewart Martin County submittal has been selected. I know that there's some tweaking of some final details between the county and the city and the Brightline and the Florida East Coast Railway, and we had a phone conference as recently as today. Soon, between now and the end of April, I will be returning to the board with hopefully a final agreement for you to ratify. Also, since the last meeting, there was a 5K run and a Kiwanis breakfast that at the Kiwanis breakfast, we also had the grand opening of the Kiwanis playground facility that the City Commission voted to match the funds with Kiwanis, which was actually very successful. The kids loved it. And also, on March 6th, a milestone in the city of Stewart occurred. And there's a limited few people who actually complete the demanding educational requirements and then pass the peer review based upon their significant contributions to local government and to their community and to their state. And in the instance that I'm referring to right now, our own clerk was designated as Master Municipal Clerk based upon 5 years of educational and community service.
That's
So
awesome.
we should congratulate her.
Yes.
And I want to say, over the course of the 5 years, there's been adjustments to bylaws, to public records, to sunshine presentations, to procedures in meetings, to the processing of elections, to almost every aspect of how we keep records in the city and function at our meetings. And you can blame Mary for those. But it really has been a tribute to Mary at how hard she's worked on it. And I congratulate her on that. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you very much. Okay, can I get a motion of approval of the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any comments from the public who would like to speak on this? I see none.
You can do it all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Now we have comments from the public. Let me through these. Sally Rose. Miss Sally Rose? Thank you for coming.
Sally Rose, 1101 Southeast Riverside Drive in Stewart. Madam Mayor, Commissioners, last week, as I attempted to drive downtown on East Ocean Boulevard, the traffic was backed up from Hospital Street by the Cleveland Clinic to Confusion Corner, nearly half a mile back up. This is no longer a rare occurrence happening only when a freight train passes. It has become a daily nightmare. Now, you commissioners propose to allow city land to be used for 130 more apartments. That could easily add 200 to 260 more vehicles to our gridlocked, overburdened downtown. Is that what you want? Is that what your constituents want? The answer is no. Taxpayer-owned land, which is our land, belongs to our citizens, not to the commissioners. This crazy proposal to use our land on which to build government-funded apartments, which is more of our tax dollars, is outrageous. Our Stewart citizens would be expected to pay $400,000 to have this building erected. We want our tax dollars going into green space and enhancement of the city for the enjoyment of all, like with the sculptures we were just talking about. That's where our tax dollars should be going, not into subsidizing a love-'em-and-leave-'em developer from Fort Lauderdale. If we have vacant land, you, our commissioners, should be considering a parking garage that will pay for itself, not more apartments, cars, and trucks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rose. Mr. Brinkley, Albert Brinkley? Welcome, Mr. Brinkley. Good to see you.
Same here. And thank you for having this opportunity to speak to you all. Before I say anything else, I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity and listen to me about the right-of-way, but I really don't think you all have the full scope, the full understanding of that, and I'd like for you all one day to sit with me and understand what I'm trying to tell you all, because I'm different from the other people that ask for right-of-way. I had my property taken from me, so understand that part. I would like to sit down with each and every one of you as a group to really get you all to understand the situation that I am in. Now, I heard some comments from you all at the last meeting which rubbed me the wrong way. The statement was, we are not in the housing business. Well, so is Palm Beach County is not in the housing business, but they're building low-income housing down there. St. Lucie County is not in the housing business, but they're building low-income housing down there. Matter of fact, I passed by a project about a month ago that is being built. So that type of comment, I do not like. Because let me tell you something to understand, you all, everyone up there to understand one thing. You have a responsibility from God to carry out the law of the land, and I ask you to read Romans chapter 13. Read that. You have a responsibility to carry out the law of the land. We have a responsibility to obey the law of the land. You have a job to do, and that responsibility comes from God. Nobody can do what they want to do. So I just want you to know, read Romans chapter 13 and understand your responsibility, our responsibility. As a government, you have the responsibility to carry the law out. We have a responsibility to obey the law. Now, I heard another comment about this project that the lady just spoke about. And then the comment was, isn't that what the farm-based code was for? Well, Mr. Rich, the East Stewart community, every meeting that we had with the city, we specifically said that we did not want the farm-based code. And you all implemented it anyway. That's why I made mention about the government. Romans, read that. You have a responsibility. We did not want that. We said it over and over again. We didn't want the farm-based code. Why? Justification. See, eventually, with that code, we'll be priced out. We'll be on the outside looking in. Our community will be taken from us. We asked you all time and time again, we didn't want that. Matter of fact, when I was in that meeting, when Jessica spoke to you all about the farm-based code, you all sit up there and say, well, what is the farm-based code? And I'm sitting back there, I'm like, how you all gonna put something on us and you all don't know what it is? And Mr. Pete Watson sitting right there where Mike Donald's sitting. And you know what he said? Please, just let me finish this. This is important. This is important.
Couple more sentences.
You all sit there when Jessica was presenting that to you all, and the comment was combining the Creek District and East Stewart together. Pete Watson sitting right there, and his comment was, you all need to understand what East Stewart is, a residential community. And I came behind him and said the same thing he said. You all overlooking us and what we are. We are a residential community.
Mr. Brinkley, I know you are. I know you're a resident of this community.
And we said to y'all over and over again in those meetings, we didn't want the farm-based code.
Thank you, sir.
But you all doing what you want to do. God not pleased with that. He's not pleased with it.
Thank you, sir. Helen McBride. Welcome, Mrs. McBride.
Thank you. Helen McBride from Flamingo Avenue. At the last meeting, I was talking about parking, and the city administrator said, at this meeting, you were going to talk about it, and you were going to have the owner of the restaurant here. Well, this Saturday, I came down. 31 cones are in a parking spot at the end of Flagler, and there are 4 loading zones. Again, this is a freedom city. I mean, how can you 5 say certain businesses have rights over the other business? I'm from a business family. I love Luna's. You don't have any cones out there, so she could put valet parking. Something is radically, radically wrong in this city. I agree with the young lady, the first speaker, and I agree with Mr. Brinkley, but when she was saying, guys, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to wake up and listen to we the people. Now, as I say, and I told the city administrator, I come to all these meetings. And like when he said, oh, you said this at meetings, this was approved. Well, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, well, where was it approved? That 31 cones. And then he did say, Mike did say, oh, it's free parking. Well, who knows that? You come down, valet parking. You don't know it's free. Now, people who are talking to me sent me over to the Triangle with the doctor's office. When you pull in there, it's complimentary valet parking, big sign. Not down there. You get a look from these young men. But you've got to do something. We're your taxpayers. We chose to live in this city. We didn't come in here and demand, as a business, we want free parking, we want to put out cones. Stop. When people come to the city of Stewart, all right, if maybe they'll have to park down by Wells Fargo or that, but to come down and see all these empty parking spots with cones, it's not a parade, it's not the president coming into town or that. Please, please, each one of you, start to think of we the people, the hardworking people. All right, we're not rich, we're not developers, we're just common, ordinary people. And I know when I first came here, and I know, because I know a lot of you, you all worked just as hard as I did. We all volunteered our services, we all donated, because we love this city. Please, give us back our city. Stop taking it away. Thank you.
I would like to say 31 cones is just ridiculous. And what Helen just said, I want to say to our commissioners, is I've been going over there over 3 months, and it does say complimentary, and I always use it because the person I've been taking care of is in a wheelchair. And I wish that we could do that. Could we, some way, if they're going to do this, complimentary parking and 31 cones is just, can we do that?
I'm not sure what you're asking to do.
Well, I'm just, can
It
he?
is complimentary. Since the last meeting, I called the owner of the property, and I didn't know that we were setting it on this meeting. I thought it was going to be after we were able to address
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It was my intention to come back with the
Okay.
issue, but does the commission want to change the resolution that it originally passed? Because I've already told the people at Hudson's that we need to put signs up that say complimentary, because the representation needs to be that it is in fact open to the public, because right now, it doesn't say free or anything like that. The commission passed a resolution when David Dias was the city manager,
I remember.
authorizing them to put the valet parking, everything south of where the thing widens and does the thing. So that resolution, I'm not at liberty to come back and change without the commission actually having a motion and a second to rehear it and come back and change the process of it, because the commission voted on it, and under parliamentary procedure, you don't, every time somebody comes up with an issue, you don't bring back an issue that's already been voted on.
But you're going to bring it
I
back
understand.
for
I'm gonna
discussion?
bring back and tell you that there's signs that say complimentary. If the board votes right now that you want me to bring back a motion or a resolution to revoke the valet parking, I can do so, but you're under contract with the tenant there, and there's some representations. I don't have any idea what the impact would be, but
What I would like is to be able to see the terms and, maybe have a discussion item where we could talk about what's in that contract, because that was before me. So I would like to see, is there a number of spaces, what are all
it's from,
What
like,
are all the
where the
pieces
Flagler Center, where the road goes down, where it opens up and goes wide to the end? That's where it was.
was there a number of spaces
No,
associated with
it was from that point south, even out,
the Flagler Center?
yeah, like
or this
north of the Flagler Center, where it goes into two roads, like where it has a median in between it, and it goes to the left and the right, like under the bridge, all of that area under there. And he also offered to
He's
actually
exceeding that.
build parking under the bridge in that grass area as well at one point.
And remember, they do have we do have a lease with them as well, and I think that it was very, my recollection of the discussion of the valet parking was taking into consideration the lease. He invested millions of dollars on city property, and there was trying to kind all this parking and compromise, because obviously we don't want him to fail, he doesn't want to fail.
Let me interrupt. And I think we all up here have a concern. So, and Mike is supposed to bring it back to us.
I'm not,
So
you
let's-
didn't motion for me to bring it back. I'm
Okay.
just planning to bring back and report the signs are up and show you a picture of the sign that says free. Because at the time, don't forget, the Green Market used to be in the parking lot out here.
Yeah.
So one of the complaints that, in the time that the owner of Hudson's built Hudson's, the Green Market also got moved into the Flagler Park. And so there were some changes that occurred. If you guys want to reset the marker back to zero and move the Green Market back to this parking lot and remove the cones and reset it, we can start over. But one of the reasons that we don't generally rehear items is exactly that once it's been publicly heard and voted on and addressed, there's always somebody that in every decision that isn't happy with the decision, and if the only requirement is that you come back and express that you're not happy with the decision and therefore we hear it again, then you never actually get finality to a decision. But
Am
I'm
I-
happy to bring it back.
Am I hearing any of the commissioners that wants to?
I would like to revisit it,
All right.
if you
So we
are.
have, are you making a motion?
So, I'm not exactly sure what the motion would be,
Okay,
except to
take-
be able to
take your time.
at least have a discussion item.
Madam Mayor?
D&D?
Yeah, I think,
Wait a minute,
what-
wait a minute.
if I may, I think what would be useful is ask Mike to come back with showing us pictures of, and evidence about what the signs say, the signage, and also providing the commissioners with the details of the resolution. Because, because there was a fair amount of discussion about this when we did this prior, and a lot of it had to do with, and as Mike pointed out, the green market being moved down there, and then causing other parking issues. It's a pretty congested part, between the Flagler Center, the green market, and Hudson's, and everybody wants to park close to the restaurant.
Right.
But as I often park, if I go to Hudson's, unless it's an off day, I'm parking down here and not down there. So that's just the way it seems to go. But I think that bringing it back, and I also think that we should probably invite Mr. Manikaitis because it directly affects his investment.
Of course.
So,
I agree.
and I think a discussion, you can then, if we want to, after discussion, motion to move forward with a change, then we motion to have them bring it back with a new resolution.
Okay.
Mike, do you feel like you have enough direction?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, we'll proceed, and when we get to,
Yeah, I think we need to make sure he's consistently in compliance with the agreement. I think Mrs. McBride is implying that perhaps he's exceeding his allocated amount, so we need to determine if that is in fact correct. So
Okay.
that could be part of that discussion.
yes, we'll move on.
Yeah, just a minute. Mr. Morchell, I don't know if this is important, if it's viable or not, but since it's city property, do we have the ability to maybe put a drone or something and keep check on what's happening down there? So we can just get a picture of how parking happens for Main Street or whatever, just for staff to, some way for staff to know
And we can
how
walk-
things are happening, or just walk in.
We know what's happening down there. There's no doubt in my mind that what Ms. McBride is describing is happening down there. That's not, I don't think that's an issue. I mean, there's no reason not to think it is. What's happening is the operator of Hudson's is putting out cones and reserving the parking spaces for valet. In 2021, the city of Stewart terminated the green market contract and reissued a new contract with the Stewart Main Street to operate the green market and moved it into the Flagler Park. And the parking down there, and I think it was the same year that Hudson's opened. They may have been 22 that they opened. But as a result, Hudson's came back before the commission, and the commission had a public hearing on it. The commission voted to give the valet parking, but just like in Sunset Bay, and I don't know if you guys are asking me to bring that back too, well, it's the same thing. You can't, I mean, what's the difference? Because it's parking that's being valeted by the operator,
There's
and
nothing else over there besides.
we hear complaints about the parking all the time. So it's, I mean, the only thing we're hearing different today is that someone's here complaining. But when people contact us regarding Sunset Bay, it's the same thing. They say they can't park because when they get there, there's cones. And what was decided in that case and in this case was that the operator had to provide valet parking for free and wasn't allowed to charge for any of the spaces, and it was intended to provide additional parking by allowing more cars to park than spaces because they were managing it as a valet. What happens is when they're, just like when we had the valet in Stewart, downtown, in the city of Stewart and City Hall in 2018, 19, and right before COVID started in 20, every day at 3 o'clock, the valet guy would start putting cones out here in the parking lot out front, and all of the parking lot out front would end up with orange cones in it so that it could be used for valet. I mean, it was the same procedure.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if you want me to bring back the picture of the sign first now, or if you'd rather just not put in the signs, because if it's going to be revoked, I don't want to put signs in that say, free valet. I mean, it's no sense in doing it.
For me, I'd like to see the nature of the original agreement so that we have some sense of if they're honoring it or not. if there's some breach from that.
It's
so that-
Resolution 36-2022.
So that we can look at if that needs to be amended slightly to potentially include less spaces instead of, maybe 31 is exactly what they're entitled to. Maybe we need to revisit that. I know there was some change up in the parking for the bridge attendants and also for the fishermen. That's been a little bit of a change too. So just kind of looking at everything that's going on down there, just revisiting it. And if it makes sense, it makes sense. If we need to amend it, then let's amend it. Nothing drastic, in my mind, but
Now therefore, for good and valuable consideration, receipt of which is hereby acknowledged, the city does hereby grant this exclusive license to Hudson's on the River to use the city's designated parking area as defined in Attachment A in accordance with the conditions set forth below. The licensee agrees to provide valet service Monday through Saturday from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. The licensee shall be allowed to extend valet beyond 10 p.m. at its discretion, but shall not be allowed to reserve spaces prior to 4 p.m. Hudson's on the River shall be allowed to begin reserving spaces by placing cones at 4 p.m. as each car vacates the lot. Hudson's on the River agrees to provide free valet service to any citizen regardless of their patronage at Hudson's Restaurant. The term of this license agreement shall be at the time and at the discretion of the city manager. This agreement shall continue to renew on the first day of each month until the execution of this agreement signed by both parties. At the discretion of Hudson's on the River, the service may be eliminated during any month of the off-season, which is June to November. The city shall have the right to terminate the license agreement at any time with 7 days written notice without demonstrating cause. The licensee's valet may stack vehicles, but shall at all times leave the drivability roadway open. And then it talks about canceling additional authorizations, indemnification, insurance, and things of that nature. And then it shows the public parking lot. Like I said, it goes up to that curved area, and underneath, you can't really see it from this picture because it's in the
Well,
road.
you might be right that to use.
It's actually roughly, I think it's more than 31 spaces.
Probably more
It
than
should-
31
it should-
spaces, based on.
The idea that you were going to mention complimentary, that should really help, I would think, a lot. Complimentary.
Well, I'm not going to put those signs up.
Right.
I had moved forward to doing that, but I think what I'm hearing is you guys would rather address the issue first,
Well,
so I'm going to bring it back.
I
and
don't
we'll
think
address
anybody
it.
up here wants to radically transform what's going on.
Right.
We just want to look at it. So the sign would be good.
Well, he's putting those cones out before 4 o'clock on the weekends. I'll tell
Well,
you that.
I don't know.
They're out there and,
So we can address that for sure.
yeah.
Okay. We have an idea.
So,
It's worth revisiting.
are we going to revisit?
I understand the intent. I have asked 40 people who live in the city. Nobody knows it's complimentary. It's simply not working. They think you have to go to the restaurant to take advantage of the valet. It's a natural error. I mean, I didn't know until I sat up here.
All right, well, we're gonna-
So
we'll
we're
bring it-
not being effective in getting that information out.
We're going to work on that. Let's go forward. Let's,
Move
Okay.
to approve the consent agenda?
yes, 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 the
Second.
consent calendar. We got a motion by Commissioner McDonald, a second by Commissioner Collins. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak on the consent calendar? I see none. This is great. Mary, roll call?
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rich,
Yes.
Mayor Brunner,
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Commission action. Number 10, support of Southwest Palm City Road / US 1, the intersection there. Lee, if you could read that for me, the resolution.
We're past that at number 10.
Resolution number 26-2024, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, authorizing support of the Florida Department of Transportation funding for roadway reconstruction and the construction of pedestrian facilities in the city's right-of-way at the Southwest Palm City Road / US 1 intersection, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Move to approve.
Second?
I just wanted to say before we do that, just so the public understands what this is the Palm City Road and US 1 intersection Beth Beltran from the Martin MPO is present here. I don't know, Beth, if you had anything to comment further, but it was 5 different proposals for modifications to what's called the hot right on that intersection have been presented to, I guess it's an FDOT program, and they've got the MPO selected item number 5, which includes some green space behind Publix and will alleviate the speed at which cars are leaving US 1 and heading onto Palm City Road, hopefully. And it will also do some traffic calming because of the way that the median is created with the green space. Beth, did you want to say a couple words before they vote?
Yeah, I think just to follow up on this, Beth Beltran, MPO Administrator of the Martin MPO. What you're saying is correct. I will let you know that FDOT will be managing this project because it is on US 1 at the Palm City Road intersection. The second part of that motion was the traffic calming along Palm City Road. That has been broken up into 2 different priorities on the MPO's list. You all, as part of your motion, when you approved the feasibility study, asked that the project be part of the MPO priority list. As part of that list, we, or the local government has to submit a scoping form to the state. We've been working with Peter, the city engineer on putting together that scoping information for the state, and part of that is an acknowledgement of local support for this project, which is what this resolution is.
Yeah, I've been working on this a long time. This will be great. Thank you, Beth, very much. We have a first, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments? All right. I believe,
Could I make an inquiry of the 2 commissioners who sit on this commission? Do they agree with this choice?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
We have actually already approved it at the MPO.
Good.
all right, good question. So approved by Commissioner McDonald, do I have that right? And Commissioner Rich?
Motions.
Motion, and second by Commissioner Rich. Do we have any comment from the public who'd like to speak on this? All right, Mary, roll call.
Mayor Brunner,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rich,
Yes?
Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Second amendment to the interlocal agreement for creation of the Martin County Metropolitan Planning Organization. Do you read resolution?
Of course. Resolution number 29-2024, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart authorizing the mayor to sign a second amendment of the interlocal agreement for creation of the Martin County Metropolitan Planning Organization, also known as MPO, adding a 5th Martin County Commissioner to the MPO board, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Move to approve.
All right, we have a motion for approval.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Collins. Are there any comments from commissioners?
Beth, could you come up and just tell us, everybody, what we're doing? I mean, me and Chris know because
Sure.
Implementation.
As you all know, the MPO is the Transportation Planning Agency in this area. It was formed in 1993 through an interlocal agreement with the local governments. The board has 4 county commissioners on it, 2 city commissioners, as you mentioned during this time. It's Commissioner McDonald and Commissioner Collins. We have a commissioner from Sewell's Point on the board, as well as a member from the Village of Indiantown. The first amendment to the interlocal was to make the Village of Indiantown representative a voting member once the village became incorporated as a city. And this is the second amendment, and it's to add the 5th commissioner on the board from the county commissioner on the board, because at this time, the District 5 county commissioner is not on the board. And right now, there has been some discussions with the county north of us that there's a lot of development north of the county line. And there could potentially be significant impact of of traffic on the roadways of Allapattah and Martin Highway. Right now, the district commissioner is not on the board, so he cannot speak on behalf of his district. And I think this will be a subject that will come up in the next few years at the MPO board meetings. We have worked with the state on this, and the consensus was to add the 5th commissioner would be a good solution to have, all the planning area represented on the MPO board moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Beth. And I just want to say, Beth, We have one of the best performing MPOs in the state, and it's all because of Beth. So she does an amazing job. She makes sure I don't get in trouble up on the dais or over at the county building, so thank you, Beth.
So let's make sure I've got this right. We have approval by Commissioner McDonald, second by Collins. No, that was our comment. Anyone from the public would like to comment on this? This is going right along. Roll
Vice Mayor
call.
Rich,
Yes?
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Mayor Brunner.
Yes. Okay. This is the binding letter of determination for 213 Southeast Alamana Way, Stuart, Florida. Lee?
Resolution number 32-2024, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart authorizing the mayor to execute a binding letter of determination for 213 Southeast Alamanda Way in Stuart, Florida, declaring that Lot 3 will be treated as a legal buildable lot in the R1A zoning district, providing for an effective date and for other purposes.
Move to approve.
Okay, second.
Okay, we have a approval. We have a second. Any
And
comment?
I'll give a
Yes.
brief description of what's happened.
Yes, sir.
The city's comprehensive plan, as well as the land development regulations, encourage, promote, and further actually provide tools to the commission to preserve historic properties within our community. In this particular instance, a family that has a long history of preserving historic properties, the Vitalis have asked for a binding letter that would essentially state that a 1920s house that was built on Lot 3 at 223 Alamanda would be deemed as a legal lot, even though it's in the R1A zoning district. Well, in the R1A zoning district, a legal lot has to be 100 feet wide and up to 10,000 square feet of space. But if you look at a map, or in this particular instance, if you look in that area, the houses directly to the south of it are 50-foot wide lots, right around the corners 50-foot wide lots, across the street are 50-foot wide lots. And in this particular instance, if the vacant portion of this is required to be participating in the sale and you can't carve this Lot 3 off, then what's going to happen is the potential builder is going to literally knock down the historic home to build on the totality of the lot. In this particular instance, Mr. Vitale's son is going to be moving into it with his wife, and they will plan on maintaining it and restoring it as a historic home. The resolution that the commission is being asked to vote for would authorize the city attorney to draft an agreement with Mr. Raines on their behalf that would set forth the parameters under which they would have to follow in order to maintain this as a legal lot. Part of that is, you know, if a storm blew down a portion of the house, if it wasn't a legal lot, they couldn't go back and fix it and things like that. And they don't want to take it on, and 20 years from now, if it were to get destroyed by fire or by hurricane, not have anything for the aggravation of it. So the intention here was to use the tools in the comprehensive plan that authorize you to do this binding letter. And I also know that we did this on Halapatioke Way several years ago, where it was a 40-foot wide lot that didn't even meet our cottage code, that the commission deemed was a legal lot because the house from the 1920s was on it and had been. And in this instance, the house is in existence. It's on it and has been for as long as I can remember. And they would still have to meet all the setbacks and all the other stuff of the building code if they were to add on or do anything to it. It just would make Lot 3 a standalone lot.
Yeah, it is 100 years. Yeah. Wow.
It's kind of
Okay.
amazing.
Commissioner Collins?
All I was going to say is if there's ever a time to make an exception, this is pretty much it. I mean, this is about as good as it gets for what would come in front of us, so. And I also appreciate seeing Bob, you know, working for the good guys. Of course.
All right, well, that was, we have a.
You've got to vote.
Madam Mayor, I'd just like to thank Mr. Vitale for taking the time yesterday to meet with me at the lot and explain to me what his plans were. And one of the appeals of the job is this is such a small city. We always have the opportunity to go and, we'll look at and walk on the pieces of property that we're talking about. And I literally have run by this lot hundreds of times because it's on my running route. And yet, for him to take the time and explain to me what he wanted to do, he and his family wanted to do, I agree with the comments by Commissioner Collins. There's no better steward of our historical buildings than someone who understands how important these buildings are to maintaining the charm and character of our city than Mr. Vitale. So I'm happy to cast my vote in favor of this.
And his son Chris is going to be able to follow the lead with this because we're going to hold him to it as well.
And he lives in Palm City right now, so now he can raise their family. See
Yes.
That's right.
He can ride his bike to work.
New candidate for commissioner.
Yes. Well, I believe we have approval by.
We have a vote. You need to call the vote. You have a motion and a
To
second.
vote.
And any comments from the public regarding this?
I do. I live across the street.
You have to come up here, ma'am.
Am I allowed to go?
Yes, ma'am. We just want you to fill out a green card. Give us your name and address and fill out one of these before you leave. Thank you. I don't have, yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay.
You fill it out after.
Thank you.
You can fill it out when you're done.
Okay.
Are you Miss Rose?
No, I'm Mrs. Shane, Linda Shane, and I live across the street from the beautiful house that was built, 1925? And I'm just so thrilled they're going to be restoring it because we were so afraid they would tear it down. And we need more young couples in the neighborhood. And so I'm so happy y'all are getting it. So I support you 100%. So, and I know they'll do a wonderful job like they've done the little houses on Seminole Street. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'll enjoy having you as neighbors.
We really do have a special little city.
No
People
planning
say
of
that we
cocktail
don't.
parties. Let's move on with the agenda.
Okay.
That's right.
Any other public comments? Okay. Now, Mary, roll call.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rich?
Yes?
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Brunner?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for doing what you do.
ladies. Okay. Now, amendments to the City of Stewart's Land Development Code and Code of Ordinances. Lee knows this one well. Lee?
All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ordinance number 2525-2024. Is that the right number? An ordinance of the City of Stewart, Florida, amending Chapter 8 of the City of Stewart's Land Development Code, Administration and Enforcement, and amending Part 2, Chapters 2 and 32 of the City of Stewart's Code of Ordinances, providing for the repeal of prior ordinances and resolutions, incorporation into the code, severability, effective date, and for other purposes. Since I was the one who worked on this one, I can kind of discuss it. City Manager Mortel talked about this earlier in tonight's meeting, and I think I alluded to it last meeting. But we had some confusion on some of the advisory boards as to what their duties and responsibilities were. And I kind of took a look at them. We had some duties and responsibilities in our code in Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances. We also, and they dealt with the advisory boards in that chapter. We also had similar duties and responsibilities for the same advisory boards listed in Chapter 8 of the Land Development Code. And then we also had bylaws which were adopted by the commission at various times via resolution, and they had like a drafted bylaws. And it was 2 or 3 pages of bylaws. And there were a lot of similarities, there were some differences. So what we wanted to do is we consolidated all of those. One of the problems too with the adoption by resolution of the bylaws is the bylaws weren't anywhere online. So the members of the board and the public couldn't find those bylaws unless they did a public records request from the city clerk. So by incorporating all this, we took the similarities of all of these and put them in Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances. So in Code of Ordinances, you're going to see that there are the first few sections are boilerplate for all the advisory boards. So they're the common rules and regulations for all of them. And then we break them down into each advisory board. You know, some of them have specific details that the others don't, like some boards have 7 members, some have 5. So there are some differences among the boards. And what Commissioner Collins brought up, one of the things that we talked about, I guess, earlier was it's an automatic resignation of any of the advisory board members if they fail to attend 3 successive board meetings. So it's an automatic. But we've added some language and kind of clarified it that each of these advisory board members, they'll serve at the pleasure of their respective appointing commissioner. So it also, we put some language in here that you will be able to remove them with or without cause at any time. So if they don't meet the 3 successive meetings, let's say they miss 2, it's within your discretion. You would be able to have a conversation at least with them, and but you could remove them, and it would be a little bit easier. Before, it required us to bring it to the board, and the board had to vote on it. So we've kind of clarified it where you'll have your own individual power on your appointing advisory member. So, you know, we cleaned up typos. You know, the code's changed so many times that when these originally were written, it would cite to a certain section number, that section number meant something else. So I cleaned it up where it was referencing to the correct section in the code elsewhere. We had some typos and capitalization, so we just cleaned up some certain things. So hopefully it'll be easier for everybody to find, too.
If you guys need an opinion or anything, we also have a consulting from a master municipal clerk.
Well, we have a Commissioner McDonald.
Lee?
Sure.
Once these are done, then all these bylaws, everything will be available since they're in the code and muni code?
Yeah, it'll be in Chapter 2. Everything will be in Chapter 2 now, and,
Under administration.
yeah.
No,
So-
but that, I mean, that just will make it so much easier for,
Right.
that'll make it so much easier for anybody that wants to find out what.
Public can search it very easily online.
Yeah,
by
I
coming
go
over.
to muni code all the time, so. we can-
And the board members, they were having trouble finding what their duties and responsibilities were, but now it'll all be in one place, so it'll be easier, so.
Do we have a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner McDonald, second by Commissioner Clark. Any other comments from our commissioners? Any comments from the public? Okay, Mary, roll call.
Mayor Brunner,
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rich.
Yes.
Commissioner Collins.
Yes.
Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn? Adjourned. 6:20, 5:20, 5? Is that 5 or 6?
5.
Really?